So welcome to our second session dedicated to Murshid Sam on the occasion of his 50th Urs, which is the 50th anniversary of his passing, of his leaving the body. So that was actually last Friday. So there's been a lot of events happening around the world. And this is just part of our contribution. So if you're not sure who Murshid Sam is, he was a student of Hazrat Inayat Khan, and he was a dedicated student of and teacher in many, many different traditions. He's quite an extraordinary person. He was born a Jew and raised a Christian, had a Sufi teacher from his, I think he met the Sufis when he was around 20 years old. He went to Japan and studied deeply and became a Zen master, and he spent time in India and at the Anand Ashram, where he was recognized as a teacher in that tradition as well. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. And wherever he traveled, in all of these different traditions, he was recognized as a teacher wherever he went. And then right towards the end of his life, he was in San Francisco, which was his hometown, and he actually was ill. He was in the hospital, and he heard the voice of God speaking to him and saying, "I make you the spiritual teacher of the hippies." And so he recovered from what was wrong with him, and this was in the 60s, the late 60s, and sure enough, he started to come across these young people who were seeking, and rapidly gathered a crowd of these people around him, and they recognized him. He hadn't really been recognized in San Francisco or in America at all as a teacher. He'd been recognized around the world, but not in his home. And so he was working with these young people in their teens and 20s, one or two late 20s, early 30s, but mostly very young, and teaching them originally as a Zen teacher and then as a Sufi teacher. And finally, the dances of universal peace began to come through him, and he shared the dances. And so this was all really in the last 3 years of his life. And there's a wonderful story which he told to one of his students, and that student reported it to us on Friday or Sunday. It was anyway one of these things we've been to in the last few days, which was a dream he had where he was planting seeds, and he was a gardener, and he planted all these seeds and they didn't come up, and the next year he planted a load more seeds and they didn't come up, and the year after the same thing, and then finally one year he planted seeds and they did come up. But not just the ones he'd planted that year, but all of the ones he'd planted in all the previous years as well. They all started coming up together, and he was running around trying to harvest them. And again, God spoke to him and said, "Harvest what you can and leave the rest to me." And it's very beautiful to hear that story from Wali Ali, who was the student that he told it to when it happened. But it was very much the reality of what was happening. He spent all these years, dedicated work, preparing himself really for this phenomenal period of teaching in the last 3 years of his life. And so some of those students are still teaching today. And I think when he died, he had 160 students. And now there are thousands around the world who follow his teachings and enjoy the dances, and people like you who benefit from these practices. So we all have an enormous thank you for all that Murshid Sam was and all that he brought. So we're going to share a bit more of that today, and hopefully give you some experiences that you might not have had before. So we'll see. So let's begin in our usual way. Let's take hands, connect with hands and heart and breath. Connect with the earth beneath our feet. Opening our crowns to all of life. Allowing this energy flow from crown to earth and earth to crown. Reaching out with the wings of our hearts. To say together, towards the one, the perfection of love, harmony and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of guidance. Let's say it one more time. Let's stretch it. Include whatever names you wish to include in this embodiment. Towards the one, the perfection of love, harmony and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the message, the mystery, the miracle, the Mother, the Spirit of guidance. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So on Friday there was a very wonderful Zoom event, international, with lots of Murshid Sam's original students telling stories about their time with him. And one that I was really struck by, there's a couple of very gorgeously wonderful people called Iqbal and Davy. And Iqbal described how living with Murshid Sam, he said it was like being at the sharp point and the cutting edge of love. This intensity of love that he brought, intensity of beingness. Oh, let me show you a picture. This is a painting of Murshid Sam that was done by one of his students, who was a very beautiful man as well, who sadly passed last year, Kabir Kitz. This is a picture of Murshid Sam with his hands stretched out in healing. That's a picture that I love very much. It might be good just to read a couple of pieces that he's... Well, he was a prolific writer and a prolific giver of talks as well, many of which were transcribed. So that if you start looking into his writings, there's a whole website with all these writings on. But I just picked out one or two very small pieces. So this is about meditation. So one who goes to their meditation feeling, God is my teacher, I have something to learn, I will listen attentively. And that one will be rewarded with the greatest blessing, receiving in the silence and meditation that which they are capable of understanding. And by this, gradually their purpose of life will be unfolded. So the invitation to go to meditation feeling, God is my teacher, I have something to learn, I will listen attentively. There was another story that Iqbal told. Apparently somebody once asked Sam, you know, if you had to give God a name, what would you call them? And God said, and Sam said, I'd call him the great chatterbox because he never stops talking to me. You got any stories?
No.
Let's do a dance.
Not right now.
We're going to try an experiment with this dance. We're going to do it. The words are Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So we're exploring these two very different energies of Krishna and Rama. And what I'd like to do is divide the people on the screen into two sections, and half of you will go with Salik and half of you will go with me. So I'm just going to have to name you as you are on my screen, and we'll see what happens. So people who will go with Salik, I'm going to have people on the left-hand side of our screen. Okay. So Fabien and Deborah, Hadi and Azima, Sarmad, Madhu and Claire. So you're with him. And so the rest of you, Alison, Chloe...
It was a bit like a pantomime all of a sudden.
There is something of that energy about tonight, it's true. Anyway, you're interrupted.
Yes.
So the others, Alison, Chloe, Lakshmi and Tom, Katie, Kealohilani, Margot and Kerry with me. Okay. And so... that's D. Okay, I'm getting confused by what that one's in G.
Just sing it in whatever suits your voice.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So we're going to be alternating. So just to say a little bit about what these energies are like, Krishna is... you got really good at doing Krishna earlier when we were practicing, but I think you're better at it than I am, actually. So Krishna is the great lover and the playful one, and he's the flautist, the musician. He's the one who fancies all the cowgirls, you know, the dairy maids, and he gets into lots of trouble all the time. He's the trickster and the playful, but he's the great lover. That's the one. And and play is another big factor. Whereas Rama
is the warrior, the king.
That'll do. He's a man of few words, Rama. Yeah, that's right. Mark is showing with his bow and arrows.
Yes,
and
he's carrying a bow in one hand and probably a spear in the other hand.
Very upright.
Stately.
Very. But he's really embodies strength and courage and uprightness. And, you know, this, again, it's a form of love. Of course it is. But it's this very strong, protective love that's very... there's a word I'm searching for and I can't find it. It's kind of righteous, but that's not quite the right word. It's anyway very.
I was thinking. Well, you know how we were doing the sun walk the other day. For those of you who came.
Yeah, he's
very sun-like.
His name speaks to
Ram,
that.
Ram.
Radiance of the sun. So. Feel free, obviously, to put us on speaker view if you want to see us, but it's going to be quite good to be able to see the whole group because we're going to be seeing how we each embody these qualities. So shall we stand up and with our slippers. So we're going to start by all the people who are with me doing Krishna, and we're going to go to the right. So if you like, you can pretend to play your flute. You can be very flirtatious and glancing around, trying to catch people's eyes, and being playful and this kind of flirty, loving quality. So, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So while we're doing that, Rama's just standing still, okay? And then
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
And then we're going to go, this isn't going to work, is it? How's this going to do it? We should be doing it opposite each other like this. Will this actually work? Can we try and see? Maybe this will work like this. It might be easier. So, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So when I'm moving, you're still, all right? And then we did practice this.
Not this bit.
Not this way around. Okay. So, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So whichever one you're doing at the moment, you're really getting into that quality. So we're really isolating that and feeling that, experiencing either Krishna or Rama. And then we're going to swap and do it the other way around for a bit. Okay, so we'll do a couple more goes with all the Krishnas. Welcome, Samira. You can join the Krishna crowd. So with me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
And now let's swap over. So whichever you were doing before, you'll be doing the other one. So Salik's going to start.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now let's all go together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now we're going to reach out our arms like this. This is taking a basket weave, so reaching out widely but taking hands with the person on the other side of the person you're next to. Let's imagine that. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now arms on shoulders. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now arms around waists. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now if you're up for this, just to close it, we're going to do some scissor jumps for Krishna and then some vertical jumping for Ram. So scissor jumps, we're going right leg forward, left leg forwards. Krishna, 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 Krishna. Rama, 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 Rama. Hari Om.
Om Hari Om.
Om Hari Om.
So that's what I'm doing when I bounce sometimes when I'm leading dances. I'm doing a Ram bounce.
A Ram bounce. Lovely. So I'll just read a couple more pieces while we get our breath back. Do you want to read anything?
Well, I'd have to read it first to know whether I wanted to read it.
Well, I'll read then. You can read, you can decide. So Murshid Sam says, when the breath is kept in rhythm and is refined, the magnetism, which is ordinarily consumed in the activities of mind and body, is preserved. So if you're somebody who finds that you're short of energy, your magnetism is easily dispersed or consumed, then keeping the breath in rhythm and refined may be a remedy towards that.
Jilani, would you read that once again, please?
I certainly can. When the breath is kept in rhythm and is refined. The magnetism, which is ordinarily consumed in the activities of mind and body, is preserved. I'll put these up on the YouTube recording afterwards so that you have the link, the readings on the links there.
Thank you.
Yes, I don't know about peace, but you're probably going to read that later, aren't you?
Well, we could read it together, yeah. You want to start and we'll do a...
Yeah. Until the soul has found itself far above the mind mesh, there cannot be peace. Peace is found at the centre, at the hub of things. Nevertheless, it cannot be separated from activity. Cessation of activity should be called non-activity, not peace. Cessation of war should be called non-war. Peace is a very inappropriate term for it.
Maybe it's good to read each paragraph twice because there's a lot in there. Yeah? Or shall I read it then? Okay. So, until the soul has found itself far above the mind mesh, there cannot be peace. People talk about peace of mind, but I don't know how possible that is to find peace in the mind. Murshid Sam talks a lot about the mind mesh and the soul as something beyond the mind mesh. We get trapped in the mind mesh just as we're trapped in the body, if you like. But to reach out beyond that is where we need to go to find peace. So until the soul has found itself far above the mind mesh, there cannot be peace. Peace is found at the centre, at the hub of things. Nevertheless, it cannot be separated from activity. Cessation of activity should be called non-activity, not peace. Cessation of war should be called non-war. Peace is a very inappropriate term for it. Maybe that's enough for now. Do those? Yeah. So this is something that we started off on Sunday, which was some work with the wazifa walks. So most of us are a little bit familiar with the dances of Murshid Sam, but a huge part of the body of his work is also the walks and the breaths. And many different ones of these, they're well worth researching. So we've been working in our regular groups with some of the wazifas, the beautiful names of the beloved, and Murshid Sam recommended certain movements to go with some of those, and to do them in this way of walking and moving. It's really embodying meditation. It's embodied meditative practice, and that's something very special. Yeah. So
I like these because they bring the energy of these qualities, for me, more fully into my body than simply chanting. I'm actually moving my body at the same time and bringing that energy into my movement, and so it can be easier for me to remember the energy in daily life because I've put it more into manifestation.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And certainly really invite you, if you're working with the beautiful names on your own, to investigate that for yourself. See which movements you feel inspired to put with them. If you know there are maybe some that you've learnt, but also your own feeling of what comes is important.
What works?
What works? Yeah.
If it works, do it. If it doesn't work, try something else.
Exactly. So let's stand up, and we'll We're going to do it in the way that it almost becomes like a dance, the way we did it on Sunday. So in between each pair of each of the names that we're doing, we're going to be chanting Allah 4 times, and we're going to walk to the right and then to the left, isn't it? Like this. Allah, Allah. It's all the way to the right, this one. Yeah, I'm getting confused. Allah, 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 Allah. And then turning with a hu, just one long breath of hu. It's a bit like the sorbet in between courses in a delicious meal, so you get to clear your palate for the next wazifa. Just need to have a food analogy.
Or a beautiful container of the name. Somehow it sends it on its way.
So we'll call out and explain each wazifa as we go. Again, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So, Allah, 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 Hu.
Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim,
Ya Rahman,
Ya Rahman,
Ya Rahim.
Ya Rahman, palms facing downwards. Ya Rahim, upwards. Ya Rahman, radiant love. Ya Rahim, compassionate, holding, enfolding love.
And there can be a sense of the giving and receiving of love. So the palms down, love streaming through the chakras in the palms of the hands, giving it to the earth or giving it to wherever it's needed. And then the other way up, receiving.
I'm just thinking of that picture of Sam with his hands out like that, which kind of works better for me than just like that.
Yeah.
So a bit more outstretched and radiant. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. And we can be walking at the same time. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Allah, 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 Hu. Ya Rashid, the guide. And we're the guide who shows us the path. So our hands are like this, the same width apart as our body, showing us the way forward. Ya Rashid. Ya Rashid.
Ya Rashid. Ya Rashid. Ya Rashid. Ya Rashid. Ya Rashid.
Yahai.
Yahai.
Divine life. Yahai. Really stretching up those hands to the heavens, feeling that life force. Yahuk.
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 Feeling the truth of your being manifested in this body, here and now. Divine manifestation of you here. Yahai, Yahuk. I think we'll start with doing a few Yahais, then we'll do a few Yahuks, and then we might alternate for a little while. So really get into that. Life, manifestation of life. Yahai, 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 Yahai. Now Yahuk. 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 Now both. Yahai. Yahuk. Yahai. Yahuk. Yahai. Yahuk. Yahai. Yahuk. Yahai. Yahuk. Yahai. Yahuk. Allah, 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 Allah,
Ya Basir. Ya Basir.
Ya Basir.
The all-seeing. And it has to do also with seeing with the eyes of the heart. So we begin with our hands at the third eye and we come out in this heart shape and land on the heart. Ya Basir. The all-seeing, the one who sees with the eyes of the heart. Ya Basir. Ya Basir. And then often paired with that one is Ya Sami,
Ya Sami.
which is the all-hearing, the one who hears with the ears of the heart. So again, I think we'll start with some Basir and then some Sami, and then we'll put them together. So Ya Basir, 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 Ya Sami, Ya Sami, Ya Sami, Ya Sami, Ya Sami, Ya Sami. Let's put them together. Ya Basir, Ya Sami, Ya Basir, Ya Sami, Ya Basir, Ya Sami, Ya Basir, Ya Sami. Amen.
Amen. I can really feel the my chakras in my palms after that.
So just to close, we'll do a simplified version of Murshid Sam's devotional zikr. So we can do it seated. If you choose, you can just be sweeping your head across your heart and then dropping into the heart. La ilaha el Allahu. La ilaha el Allahu. La ilaha el Allahu. La ilaha el Allahu. La ilaha el Ameen.
Ameen.
And let's close with the prayer Khartoum. So if you're not familiar with the prayer, just breathe, let the words wash over you. O thou who art the perfection of love, harmony and beauty, Lord of heaven and earth, open our hearts that we may hear thy voice, which constantly comes from within. Disclose to us thy divine light, which is hidden in our souls, that we may know and understand life better. Most merciful and compassionate God, give us thy great goodness. Teach us thy loving forgiveness. Raise us above the distinctions and differences which divide. Send us the peace of thy divine Spirit, and unite us all in thy perfect being. Amen.
Amen.
Ooh, Allah.